Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Wendell Jones here at Changing Your Mind Ministries. Thank you again for joining us for another Sunday morning broadcast. We're so grateful. And today is Father's Day. So I want to send a happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there watching and commend you for the effort, commend you for the things you have been doing. And we celebrate you today. And I'm sitting here and I'm fighting this grin on my face. And Tina's been laughing at me because they surprised me. Tassie cured and had some portraits created for me, some blown up pictures of our church family. And I haven't seen these folks. You see me looking from side to side because Tina took the pictures and she set them up. So it looks like I'm preaching to somebody today. And so I'm excited and I'm grinning at these people that I miss and that I love. I'm trying to get this grin off my face, but man, I must really do love y'all. And we got room in that heart for those of y'all who are considering trying to figure out where you're going to go worship. We have room for you too. But Tassie, thank you so much. Thank you, Tina, so much for setting this up for me. Today, again, is Father's Day. And the Lord gave me something to speak into the lives of our fathers, specifically Black fathers. What I'm going to do today is that I'm getting ready to pray, but I'm also going to ask you for some concession. The concession I'm asking for today is that I'm not going to start off like we typically do or traditionally do, give you a verse of scripture. I'm going to depart from that. I do that sometimes, but I'm back to that. I'm going to depart from that because I'm going to give you several scriptures later. And I didn't want to pick one out as my favorite. I just want to highlight them all and let them stand for themselves. But hopefully you'll trust me as we launch into this and you can hear what God has placed on my heart to say today. So let us pray. Father, I thank you so much for being my God and for how you have dealt with me and handled me and chastised me and molded me. It all feels like love to me. Thank you for trusting me with this calling. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for living inside of me and how you're nurturing my gift and shaping me in a way that I can be a voice to the people that you and I both love deeply. Rise on me today. Talk through me today. Help me be relevant today. Help me speak life into the men, the fathers, the Black fathers today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's talk a little bit. Life wouldn't be life if we're not growing, and there's some stuff I'm learning about life, and there's something that I've learned over the last couple of years that helps me in ministry, but absolutely helps me in life, and I hope you catch this because I think this is a point, a good nugget for you to capture. So in ministry and in life, listen. You have to address the emotions of a thing, the emotions of a situation before you slip over into solving the matter, before you slip over into your logic. And see, that flies in the face of my natural personality because I'm a fixer. And most men are. And so there's conflicts with men, and sometimes it hurts us in our relationships because if you bring us a problem, we want to jump into this thing and fix it. But what I've come to understand is that when it comes to relationships of all sorts, is that you have to address the emotions that a person is bringing in them and address them in a sensitive manner. And listen to me now, because even science has proven that emotions travel much faster than thoughts. Emotions travel much faster than logic. And so when something is going on with somebody or something is going on with a group of somebody's, what you're going to see and feel is the emotion of the moment. And you have to be sensitive to that. You need to deal with that. Because listen, when you ignore the feelings that somebody is expressing, it feels like they are being ignored. No matter how good your solution is, no matter how logical your solution is, no matter how your solution proves to be right later on. But in that particular moment, when somebody is trusting you with the feelings of a moment and you ignore the feelings and jump right into fix it mode, it feels like that they don't even really exist, even if you do fix it. Because feelings show up faster. And that is why I'm so convinced that the Bible says it's about Jesus. It says that we have this high priest who has been touched, listen now, by the feelings of our infirmities. Jesus makes an excellent intercessor because he knows how it feels. And see, if you're honest with ourselves, the feelings oftentimes are the hardest hurdle to get over. Stuff makes so much sense in your head, but your feelings can veto logic. Your feelings can veto wisdom. And so your feelings have to be addressed. And so if you're looking to help somebody, you can't help them by ignoring how this thing makes them feel. And so I need you to hear that, because if you look at our world today, look at our nation today, our state, our communities, there are a lot of emotions out there, a lot of feelings out there. And the feeling that's getting the most attention is the feeling of frustration. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of built up frustration that if it isn't addressed, if it isn't given the consideration that it's due, the solution won't be heard. And so we have to address these things. And again, there's so much out there, but the thing that I keep seeing and hearing about is frustration. And so I've kind of dealt with that the last couple of Sundays, and I'm right back with it again. Because I've thought about something else that's creating a lot of frustration right now. And see if you understand this. Listen to me. There are few things more frustrating and powerful. It's frustrating and powerful. But let me just tell you what it is. It's hijacking the narrative. There's few things more frustrating, but it's actually also powerful. It is a pure power move to hijack the narrative, to hijack the conversation. You see, we see this whole hijacking of the narrative. You see it taking place on a personal level. You see it taking place on a group level. And we also see it taking place on a national level. Let me see if I can explain to you. You had your narrative or your conversation hijacked when you was talking to somebody. Have you ever been talking to somebody and they completely changed the subject on you? You finally worked up the nerve to say something about something. And in that conversation, guess what you're expressing? Your feelings, your emotion. And the person who's supposed to be attentive to you, listening to you, sympathizing, empathizing with you, they changed the conversation on you. As if something you said triggered something else in their head, and they took the liberty of changing the entire conversation. Your conversation got hijacked. And that's frustrating. You see hijacking taking place on a group setting. And this, I see this happening more so on social media, because whenever you post something on social media, you actually speaking to a group of people, and you get somebody to come along and they'll do what I call postjacking. A little more than hijacking, postjacking. It's when you put a post out there, you put your feelings out there, and somebody slides in the comment section and give this long thesis, this long dissertation, trying to draw some attention to themselves, trying to prove how wise they are on the subject. But in the worst case, they talking about something that don't even matter, that doesn't even relate to it. And it completely takes everybody off of what you were talking about. And it's frustrating to try to slip back in there and wrestle back control of the conversation you initiated. Postjacking. And a lot of times, I'm going to say this and probably offend some people. A lot of times, all you got to do is go to that person's page and you realize they don't get a lot of attention there, and you might do. So they come to hijack your post so they can get some attention that they've been seeking. But that's frustrating to you. But also we see the same hijacking of the narrative, hijacking of the story, hijacking of the conversation on a national level. And I want to give you just two examples that I'm sure that will resonate with you, especially in this season. You saw a hijacking of the narrative when it came to Colin Kaepernick. And you also have seen and continue to see a hijacking of the narrative when it comes to Black Lives Matter. When it comes to Colin, the narrative that he was trying to put out there, and again, what's frustrating is that if I'm the initiator of the narrative, I should be able to maintain control of it. That's what makes it so frustrating when somebody comes and strips it, takes it from you. The narrative behind Colin Kaepernick's move was that he was protesting police brutality. And people keep overlooking. His narrative was hijacked and made it about being dishonorable toward the flag, because he decided to take a knee during the national anthem. And what's amazing about that, because even to hijack his narrative, you had to hijack the narrative of taking a knee. Because all throughout history, taking a knee was an act of deference, was an act of honor, was an act of humility. You kneeled at things you were trying to honor. You kneeled at things that you were trying to show deference to. And so they even had to strip that of him and change the narrative of that as well. Everybody discounted the fact that it was a military man that told him that was the best way to go about it. And he listened and he did that, but they still hijacked the narrative. And so the whole idea of protesting against police brutality against black men began to get lost in this now muddied water. Very strategic, but very frustrating. Black Lives Matter, brilliantly hijacked. We go from Black Lives Matter to what? All lives matter. Which is interesting in and of itself, because to say all lives matter, you're assuming that black lives already matter, because we're part of the all. But the reality of it is, the narrative that was being promoted from Black Lives Matter was also the same as Colin's, was that it was protesting police brutality against black lives. But it got hijacked so that it could get lost in the shuffle. And so, as I said earlier, hijacking the narrative is both frustrating and powerful, all at the same time, depending on what side you're coming from. From the person who has been hijacked, it feels frustrating. Here's why. Because you're putting out your own message and you're trying to present yourself. If you ask the person being hijacked, they say, I'm trying to present me. I'm trying to prove that I exist. I'm trying to prove that my words matter. I'm trying to present myself. Watch this. I'm trying to establish value in what I'm saying. And so when it's hijacked, it becomes frustrating to the person who initiated the conversation. But it's also powerful for the hijacker, because the whole point of hijacking the conversation, it is designed, listen to me, listen to the contrast. It is designed to erase your existence. It's designed to make you feel like you don't matter. And here is the end goal. It is there to cause you to question your value. I'm speaking because I'm trying to establish my own value. I'm being hijacked so I can now question my value. This is incredibly important. Whether it's done intentionally or unintentionally. And I'll say sometimes it's done unintentionally because people are just doing what they've seen other people do, or they're doing what was done to them. But still, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally, the ending result of it is that the person at the receiving end of it begins to question his or her value. And value, self-worth is essential to existing in this life. It's essential in being able to grow or putting yourself in position to grow. It is essential to be able to see yourself as a contributor to life. And so if someone wanted to make you play small, all they have to do is make you question your own value. When somebody strips me of my words, my voice, it makes me question my own value. Listen to me now. And that's why suppression is so powerful. Every manner of suppression, whether it be racial suppression or suppressing somebody's voice, trying to silence people. The end game of that, the end goal of that is to get you to question your value. And this world responds to your value. Because God says, listen, see if you catch this. You know, God told us something in Genesis, but also it was repeated again by Paul in Galatians, just showing us that this world is designed. One of the major principles in this world that God created was this principle of seed time and harvest. Or in other words, whatever you put out is what you get back in. Whatever you put out is what you get back in. Whatever you sow, you reap. And oftentimes you hear that spoken in a negative connotation, but it's neither negative nor positive. It's neutral. It's all based on whatever you put out. You put out good, you get good back. Whatever seed you put out there, that's coming back to you. Now picture the person who has been devalued. Picture yourself if you've been devalued. If you have been devalued, stripped of your value, made to feel like you're not valuable, then you put minimum stuff out there. You put stuff out there that you really don't want. But here's the problem. If you put it out there, it's coming back to you. It's coming back in a harvest. Whatever you perceive your value to be, that begins to shape your world and what you have access to, what comes back to you. Listen, even the economics and your pay structure, all of that is based on what you perceive your value to be. But here's what makes it even more deadly. When your value comes into question by you will no longer begin to make demands about what you think you deserve. You will no longer begin to put yourself in position to be able to get it. You won't stretch yourself. You will resign to the fact that you're here when you have potential out of this world. And so once your value system collapses on the inside, now you're subject to allowing somebody on the outside to tell you what you're worth. Where you can afford to live, what you can afford to live in, what you can afford to earn. All of that begins to be dictated to you. And that is nothing more than a form of bondage. You've been made by God, according to his word, to be able to do all things. But it's determined by your sense of worth. What do you believe you are worth? God believed you were worthy of Calvary. But has this world conditioned you through various forms of hijacking, various forms of suppression to make you feel like you're not worthy of value? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with Father's Day? There is a pervasive narrative about not only black men, but black fathers. It is not only shaping how black fathers see themselves, what's making it dangerous even more so, what has made it dangerous, not making it, it's made it dangerous, is that same narrative has been accepted by our community. Now, granted, I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to explain the dynamics of a thing. Because listen to me. Once a narrative becomes accepted, people have a tendency to give into it and act it out. But what I want to challenge you with is that there's this narrative that's out there is false. There is a false narrative about black fathers. And I know some of you might be already ready to object because of your personal experience, but listen to me again. A narrative is powerful. If it is not checked, if it is not killed and stripped of its power, it will produce itself. Because we receive it and we produce it, we reproduce it on the outside. But let me move on. Let me show you, let me give you some data. I want to show you that this narrative is false. Because here's what I'm hoping that we will do, what we'll take upon ourselves in these unprecedented times when we're fighting for equality and fighting for the right to do this, that, and the other. I want to make sure that we are taking care of home base. It does not benefit us to get to a table and be too broken to participate. So I want you to see this. The value of black men, particularly black fathers, has been hijacked to not only strip black men of their value, but to make our communities do the same. And let me say this to you before I show you these numbers. Here's something that I've learned. That's a principle in life too. Whatever you appreciate, you get more of. Whatever you appreciate, you get more of. And so I want us to take on a commitment to be appreciative of black fathers so that we can get more of the things that we need for our community. But let me show you this. There was a report that came out a couple years ago by the CDC, of all places, the Center of Disease Control. They're in the news a lot right now because they're monitoring COVID and all these various things that are happening. But to our surprise, one of the things that they also monitor is the effects of fatherlessness and the effects of how the effects on racial lines. And so this wasn't a report produced by the Urban League. This was not a report produced by the NAACP. It was the CDC. Begin to look at the numbers. And as we show you this on this slide, let's walk through this. I want to show you how this narrative that has become pervasive in our world is false. All right. Did I even tell y'all what the title of the sermon is? Tina says I didn't. The title of the sermon is Threat, the acronym THREAT. All right, let's look at this. This first slide shows fathers living with their children, fathers that are in the home. And again, it's comparing Hispanics, whites, and black. Listen, it is not my aim to disparage Hispanics. It is not my aim to disparage white. It is my aim to elevate black. It is my aim to kill some narratives that have impacted my community negatively. And as my community begins to strengthen itself, guess what happens? It strengthens the whole thing. We are in this together, but we got to begin to look at the parts and make sure that the parts get healthy. And this is the part that I'm focusing on. Again, I'm not here to disparage any other race, but I'm here to champion my own so that we can be champions together. Look at this. Fathers living with their children. Here are the 4 things that they judged them by. And these were kids from the age 5 and under. So this is the pool. This is how they're judging this. And it says fathers that ate with their kids on a daily basis. 63.9% of Hispanic fathers did that. 73.9% of white fathers did that. 78.2% of black fathers did that. Is the narrative beginning to change a little bit? Bathed their kids, babies 5 and under, bathed their kids daily. 45% Hispanic, 60% white, 70.4% black. Played with their kids daily. 74.1% Hispanic, 82.7% white, 82.2% black. Lastly, read to their kids daily. 21.9% Hispanic, 30.2% white, 34.9% black. What about that narrative? This doesn't line up with what you've been hearing, does it? But what about the fathers that don't live with their kids, Pastor Jones? Cool. Got that slide too. And granted, those numbers are going to drop. Those numbers are going to drop significantly. But they're going to drop for all fathers, for the fathers that are considered Hispanic, white, and black, because they're not living in the home. But I still want you to see the trend. Let's look at that slide. Fathers not living with their children under the age of 5 and under. 8 with their kids daily. 8.6% Hispanic. The data was inconclusive for white fathers. Black fathers, 12.6%. Bathe their kids daily. Hispanic fathers, 7.3. White fathers, 6.6. Black fathers, 12.7. Play with their kids daily. These are fathers that aren't living in the home. 10% Hispanic, 6.6% white, 16.5% black. Read to their kids daily. The data inconclusive for Hispanics. 3.2% white, 7.8% black. Clearly, the data says that there has been a narrative that's been hijacked. What does it got to do? What we got to do with this, Pastor? I'm glad you asked. My Bible tells me something else. Our Bible is a little more aggressive than we give it credit for. God says the kingdom suffers violence, the violent have to take it by force. Not promoting violence, I am promoting taking it. Sometimes we have to take the narrative back. Because instead of being portrayed as healthy, supportive men, healthy, supportive fathers in comparison to other fathers, we were oftentimes labeled as threats. Threats to society at large, threats to our own community, threats to the women we love, threats to the children we love. And so listen, if you're going to promote that, it's our turn to hijack. So I'm asking you, let's take this thing back. If you say I'm a threat, I'm going to be a threat. But let me tell you what threat means from here on out. And always in my conversation, my messages are catered to believers, those who believe in Christ as Savior, and also to those who are riding the fence who are considering coming into the faith. And so all of this is tied to what happens to a man who begins to surrender to God, who begins to allow the word to change him, who begins to allow the Spirit of God to change him. He becomes a new kind of threat. First of all, I'm a threat to your stereotypes, because as this word begins to change me, I just don't match what's being said. We just don't match what's being said. You confound the wisdom of the wise because we won't line up with your stereotypes. And the numbers bear out. But in this case, let's take threat and treat it like an acronym as the Holy Spirit inspired me to be. Let's show them that slide. Let's show them what T stands for, Tina, in this new definition of threat as we take it back. T stands for simply there. Statistics show, and the people that I interact with, fathers are there. Whether they live in the home or whether they're outside of the home, there is a love for their children. And what you are seeing, that's shattering stereotypes. Brothers, I hear you. I see you. I applaud you. I appreciate you. Those that are doing this, you are there. How do we get there? Listen, because I'm being changed by this word that I'm reading. I'm being changed by these sermons that I hear. I'm being changed by this association. And the Bible gives me some instruction. Watch this. The Bible talks about God in a certain way. Psalms 46:1. It says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help. He's there, very present help in trouble. What does this have to do with the fathers? Listen. I'm now being molded. I'm being conformed to the image of Christ. I'm being shapen into the likeness of God. I'm getting back to my original intent. And so if this speaks about God, this is the same thing that the word is doing to me. We're on different places in this thing. Some of us are further along than others, but at least we are on the path and we are modeling. We're learning to model after God. We're starting to understand how to be a refuge. Refuge means I'm a safe place. Black men, black fathers are learning to be a safe place where you can come to me for wisdom. You can come to me for advice. You can come to me for protection. I'm learning to be shapen into the same image that God presents to me and is flowing down. I'm learning that this is safe. Women can be safe with me. Children can be safe with me. Strangers can be safe with me because I'm becoming just like God. And even beyond that, I'm not just a refuge. I am strength. I am becoming the image of strength. In the text, that word strength is really broken up into three categories. It's personal, social, and political. What's happening to a man that's being shapen by the hands of God and the words of God? He's learning how to first build his personal strength, meaning he's finally learning how to take care of himself. He's finally learning how to admit where his shortcomings are, finally learning how to ask for help, finally learning how to follow so that he can be a better leader, finally learning that it's okay to have therapy, finally learning it's okay to address his feelings, finally learning that it's okay to confront his wounds, his past, because he wants to be healthy, because now he realized somebody else is watching me who might be modeling themselves after me, those children that God blessed me with, watching me deal with myself personally. Socially, he's watching me learn how to deal with others. I now know how to have boundaries. I know how to be available. I know how to be watched as unavailable because I still got to take care of me. I'm learning how to have the right relationships. I'm learning how to discard relationships that don't mean well by me. I'm learning how to cleave to those that do right by me. They're watching me learn how to be social. And lastly, political, meaning I know they're watching me learn how to take care of those who aren't directly mine by bloodline. Political, community. I know how to take care of what belongs to me. My responsibility extends beyond my house. It goes deeply into my community. They're seeing me stand up as a man for all people because I've been called to lead. God is shaping me and showing me how to be a very present help, how to be there. I'm a threat. I'm a threat to your stereotypes because I'm there. I'm not absent. We're not absent. We are there. Even if we don't know the answer, we still know we know the address. We know the direction. I'm going to be there. I will be there with questions and I will be there till we figure this thing out because I'm following this God that I found who saved me from myself. Let me keep moving. And so that's the T. What does the H stand for? Let's show them that one. Tina, the H stands for this. Listen, this H stands for hero while healing. See, I showed up at this thing and I got stuff. I showed up at this thing and I got wounds. I got stuff going on with me because I didn't get all the things I needed. And I got too much stuff that's hurt me and has broken me down. But I'm here and I've decided to be a hero while I'm healing. Let's look at the text. This about my man David. So David arose from the ground, washed, anointed himself, changed his clothes, and he came into the house of the Lord and worshiped. Then he came to his own house, and when he requested, they set food before him. And he ate. 2 Samuel 12 and 20. Again, this is a glimpse of the moment when David is realizing that his son has died. Listen, this is what real men do. David is getting up. Watch this. Listen to me. He's getting up in his consequences and his sorrow. Consequences first. David was not a victim here. David was a victimizer. And sometimes we do dumb stuff. Sometimes we do hurtful stuff that makes us want to run back to old ways of living. But a real man can dust himself off and say, hey, I was wrong, but I still got a role to play. David still got up because he didn't have the luxury of not being the king. Heartbroken, hurting, but he still had to be the king. He had to still represent strength. He still had to be here, although his heart was aching. We're learning how to do that. We're learning that we can't just check out. We're learning that we can't just run out. I'll stay in it and allow God to heal me while my hands are still connected to the plow. And so my kids are watching how daddy perseveres. My kids are watching how daddy may wipe a tear too, but he still keeps his head up. How daddy still shows up because I'm a father. And I'm patterning myself after the Father. I'm at a point where pity is no longer necessary. But here's the thing I've learned about heroes is that heroes don't always get it right, but they always get right back up. I'm learning. So man, I'm becoming a threat. We're becoming a threat to your narrative. Let's go on. Let's look at the E, Tina. E is for evolving. E is for evolving. Let's look at the text. 1 Timothy 5:8. Did I jump ahead of myself? Where am I supposed to be? R. R. I'm so excited, and I'm glad I got my media director to show me that I can't spell. R for threat. R is for resourceful. But if you listen to this text, it's such a challenging text. And I like that because I'm being fathered by the Father. He is challenging me to show me what I'm made of. He's not challenging me to break me. He's challenging me to make me tap into my reserve tank. He's challenging me to make me see past my self-imposed limitation. He's challenging me to see past my excuses. And so he comes at me man to man in this text. 1 Timothy 5:8, he says, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Listen now, I'm being shapen by the word of God. And he comes at me first that if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for his own household. See, oftentimes we think that those are talking about the same thing. His own must mean his household. No. See, God is trying to teach us something because our condition has made us forget about somebody that's very important in this equation. To take care of his own means he knows how to take care of himself. He has learned how to take care of himself. I am learning, let me say that correctly, how to take care of myself, because it's so easy in this quest of manhood, in this quest of fatherhood, that we are often the last person on our to-do list. Not realizing that if what is this text? And my cup runneth over. That's the text that comes to mind, the scripture that comes to mind. I've got to make sure that there's something in my cup so that the spillage, the run over, can now be a blessing to my family. See, it hasn't been working that way in the past. I've been neglectful, and most men who are trying to do this right will be neglectful of themselves for trying to just be consumed with the work, the providing and all of that, and only to find themselves running empty. And the danger of running empty is that you'll sometimes reach for things to fill you that aren't good for you. And so God is challenging me, father to son, man to man. He's saying, take care of you, because if you're not good, who can you be good for? If you're not good, who can you be good for? And see, the other reproach was allowing me to die early. The other reproach was allowing me to grab alcohol and other things to deal with what men do to try to deal with the emptiness. But God is saying, listen, I never asked you to be neglectful of you. I just asked you not to be selfish. What you got to do is fill you with the intent of pouring out. So we're finally learning that it's okay to take care of us with the intent of being able to give to others. And so it slips on to the next thing, especially for those of your household. I got to be good so I can take care of those that are connected to me biologically. I got to be good with me. Because the thing, it says, listen at the end, it says, not only do I deny the faith, I mean, I'm walking for, if I don't take care of me and then take care of my mind that are connected to me, I'm denying the faith. I'm saying I really don't believe what God is teaching me. But it also says, but I'm worse than an unbeliever. What does that really mean? It means that I'm not trustworthy. I'm not worthy of trust. And see, listen now, this thing started out with value. I want to be trustworthy because I want to be valued. But it's hard to trust me if I keep running empty. It's hard to trust me as if my emptiness prevents me from being able to take care of mine. So God is teaching us, and we're starting to get this so we can be threats to the narrative, is that I'm going to take care of me, not selfishly, but so that I can be a vessel that can pour out, so that my cup can finally run over. I'm finally getting it. I got to get me together. I got to reach for my healing. I got to reach for my wholeness, because I don't want to reproduce myself as a broken man. I don't want my kids to pattern themselves after my brokenness. I want them to pattern themselves after my resilience, my stick-to-itness, the clarity of vision that I have that results in the pursuit that they see me take of things. Because I'm getting healthy. I'm getting healthy. All right. Now we're finally at E, Tina. E is for evolving, growing, learning, changing, discarding stuff that don't matter anymore, getting rid of stuff that I don't need anymore, laying aside the weight. I probably should have used that scripture, but I used Psalms 25:5, and it says, lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you, I wait all day long. I am evolving. And this is the reason I am evolving. Listen to this. Listen to this. This is what's happening to us. This is what's happening to us. We are no longer afraid to follow. We are no longer afraid to be taught. We are no longer afraid to admit, I don't know. I don't have the answers. But if you're willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. God is shaping that in us because he has that relationship with us. And he keeps bringing people into our lives that want to see us excel, that want to see us great, that want to see us break chains, that want to see us delivered and whole, want us to see us produce happy and healthy children and families from us. We're evolving. We're evolving because we've learned that wisdom is the principal thing. We want to know how to fight like God tells us to fight. We want to know. And we're grateful that God is our salvation because he's saving us from the systems of this world that were designed to make us forget that we did have value. And he's also saving us from ourselves, from the stuff that we've already adopted as a result of these many systems. God is setting us free. Little bit by little bit, he's tearing down principle after principle. He's tearing down lie after lie. And we're starting to be reborn into this person that made him want to come to Calvary and die for our liberty. Becoming a threat. Becoming a threat to the wiles of the devil. Becoming a threat to systems that said we couldn't. And God says, yes, you can. Let's hit them with A, Tina. A stands for attentive. We're building up a threat. A is for attentive. Attentive. The scripture that we use is Ephesians 5:15 and 16. And it says, therefore, be careful how you walk. This text is shaping us. It's shaping us. It's shaping us into a threat. Therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil. Making the most of your time because the days are evil. People are trying their best to get us to be silly, trying their best to get us back to being playful, trying their best to get us back to being frivolous, trying to get us back to wasting our resources, trying to get us back to putting our families on the back burner and being selfish. But we are changing to men who are determined to build and to leave an inheritance to our children's children. We are learning to walk in wisdom, that Hebrew word chakma, meaning skillful in administration and skillful in warfare. Skillful in warfare, let's deal with that first. We are learning how to fight right, how to fight for what's ours, how to fight to protect what's ours. But not only fight to get it, we're learning to be skillful administratively, meaning we know how to maintain it and to nurture it. We're hearing what God says belongs to us, and we're working up the courage to go do it. Many of us are working up the courage to go back to school, working up the courage to get GEDs, working up the courage to have side business that grow into full businesses. We're working up the courage to be visible leaders in the church. We're learning to work up the courage to be okay with the bullseye that's on our back. We're learning to be okay with our voices speaking out against things that shouldn't be allowed. We're getting rid of strong and silent. We're becoming strong and vocal. Wisdom is beginning to be etched on our hearts. We know how to fight right, and we know how to get it and maintain it. God is doing something incredible in us, and we're shattering the narrative. The last letter is T again. The last letter is tender. We're learning how to be tender, even if we came up in a world that didn't offer us tenderness. Even if we came up in a world where we didn't have the benefits of a father who was becoming this kind of threat. We're learning to be tender with our own children. It's Father's Day, right? Tender with our own children. Listen. All that stuff we've been doing with being there, being heroes while healing, being resourceful, that we're evolving and being attentive, and we're learning how to do it tenderly. Scripture says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instructions of the Lord, Ephesians 6:4. Here's what's happening to us. We're learning how to develop our voice. Develop a voice that can lead our children and not try to move them by fear. A voice that demonstrates wisdom, a voice that demonstrates understanding, a voice that demonstrates that I've been paying attention to you, a voice that says I understand you and your quirks and your tics, a voice that now is worthy of respect, not fear and intimidation. Wise now. We are earning respect. And so that we can discipline, because the purpose of discipline is to produce greatness. Our words are designed to produce greatness, not to shatter you, not to turn around and make you feel like you have no value. Our words are to challenge you no differently than God challenges us, so that we can see that there is another level to us, only to discover there are endless levels to us. As long as we have breath in our body, we have the ability to go from glory to glory to glory, and to shatter the works of the enemy and every false narrative. This is a word planet. God is trying to heal us by words. Satan is trying to bind us by words. So we are hijacking the narrative of us being a threat back. Okay? You want to say I'm a threat? I am. I'm there. I'm a hero while I'm healing. I'm resourceful. I'm evolving. I'm attentive. And I'm tender. I'm a father. I'm a father. And I'm preparing the next generation's glory for God. And that glory will be at another level. Glory to glory. I'm a threat. I'm a threat to the stereotypes. I'm a threat. So are you. Get plugged in this thing Allow the words of God to flow through you. Allow the fellowship of the brethren so iron can sharpen iron. Brothers can check you, not because they're better than you, but because they believe and want better for you. We need each other, and that's happening. Men are learning to worship because men are trying to restore their worth. Worship, worth-ship. I turn my attention toward the one who shows me what I'm worth. I don't lift my hands just because I like the song. I lift my hands because I like what the song is saying about the one who gives me my worth back, worth-ship. I'm not afraid to cry while I'm worshiping God because I'm letting my emotions get their due, get them out, and it's my way of healing. I'm too determined to be better to keep practicing suppression of my feelings. I'm too determined to leave a legacy, to worry about what I look like to other people as I try to get whole and healthy. The ones I'm concerned about are the ones that are connected to me. I need to leave an inheritance to my children's children because I want God to call me a good man, and a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. The narrative is being the old pervasive narrative that we are a threat to society and a threat to our women and a threat to our children is being dismantled. It's being destroyed. But if you insist on using the word, we'll take that too. Yeah, I'm a threat. There, hero while healing, resourceful, evolving, attentive, tender, contributing to my family. Yeah. Let's look at the takeaway, Tim. The takeaway says, as believers, let's take responsibility for partnering with God as we restore value to the fathers of our time. Let's commit to speaking life into them from cradle to grave, having faith that those words will become their reality. It's a word planted. And men are needed. That's just it. It's true. It's needed. Men are needed in the homes. Men are need to be good fathers. Whether they are in the home, ideally that would be great. But our reality is that it's not always the case, whether they are in the home or not. Let's speak life into them because we have a long-term game we're playing. As they like to say, we're not playing checkers, playing chess. This is a long game. And so we're speaking words of affirmation. And I'm not talking about false praise, because affirmation also includes correction. Affirmation doesn't just mean attaboy. Affirmation sometimes means you could do better. I've learned that when somebody tells you you can do better, that's actually a compliment. They're saying that I see more in you than you're displaying. It's a compliment. Speak life so we can restore the foundations of our community. Men, that doesn't belittle the role of the woman. You are essential, critical. We need you. But you know you also need us. Let's take care of this piece. Think long term for our children and our children's children. Happy Father's Day to the brothers who are trying to be fathers, those who are doing it well, those who are like David, trying to stand up in your consequences. Get back up. Try it again. Try it again and again. God says the righteous man falls 7 times. Get up again. Try it again. Find somebody who can help you. But it's in you to be great at this. It's in you to be a great father. It's in you to be a source of healing. It's in you to be a source of direction. It's in us. All right. If you'd like to contribute to support the ministry, by all means, we could use your support. There are the different items there on the screen. www.cym.org/give. Let me stop, because I'm getting ahead of myself all kind of ways today. Because right there, as I was getting ready to close out, I saw the images of a young man flash in front of my eyes. I don't know who you are, but I know you're watching. And what I can see, young brother, is that you got a child, a young child, and you're scared because you didn't have the pattern that you now got to figure out how to walk into. I know that feeling. You held a baby that you have fallen instantly in love with, but yet you don't know what to do with this baby. I think you need to try Christ. I think you need to get plugged into a church. I think you need to link up with some men who are growing, who will be growing right alongside of you. And every time they get it right, they'll give it to you. And every time you get it wrong, they'll show up to help you get up off the ground. You need the fellowship of Christ, but you also need the fellowship of the church. And I know it's a little difficult with Corona right now, but there's going to come a time we can get back together. But in the meantime, I need to connect you with Christ. So I need you to repeat after me. And young lady, you too. Say, Father, I thank you for Jesus Christ. I confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord. And I believe in my heart that God raised him from the dead. And because of that confession, and because of this faith I have, the Bible says that's enough to save me. I'm saved right now. I belong to Christ right now. I am qualified to have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit right now, regardless of what I struggle with, regardless of what I've done. I belong to God now. Lord, please heal me. Save me from whatever I wrestle with. Show me the possibilities of my life. Make me a threat in the best sense possible. Teach me how to give you glory. Teach me how to be a good father, a good mother, a good brother, a good sister, a good person. Teach me how to please you. Thank you for saving me. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Give if you so desire. We could use your support. But more importantly, share this message if you feel like it will bless somebody. Thank you for hijacking the narrative back with me. Yeah, I'm a threat. Threat to your stereotypes. And my children and my children's children will benefit. Happy Father's Day. Till next time, much love.